When Nintendo released teaser footage for the Live Alive HD 2D remake back in February of 2022, it really shocked and excited a lot of us. Prior to that, there hadn't been any indication Square Enix planned to revisit the game or bring it to a North American audience at all. As a true hidden gem of the SNES era, it was a game a lot of hardcore RPG enthusiasts talked about, but very few actually played. So this provided a thrilling opportunity to do just that. My first experience with Live Alive was thanks to an English translation patch for the original version that was released a long time ago, and I really loved it. I'd even say it shares a lot of characteristics with the greatest RPGs of the past. I reviewed it for the channel before the remake was announced, and you can always check that out if you want a feel for the original. Even so, I was extremely eager to check out the new version to see if it truly represented the game well in the modern age. And hey, this video will answer that. I think the best way to describe the true essence of Live Alive is to say it's a traditional RPG with a lot of untraditional features. Instead of a single narrative with a single lead protagonist, it's a collection of stories of 8 different protagonists in 8 different time periods. The player has full control to select which scenario they want to play among the first 7, and each scenario generally takes a few hours to complete. Each character has their own aspirations, which the player must complete in order to reach the next chapter. Also, the scenarios themselves are all incredibly distinct, with their own music, visuals, characters, and even plot themes. So much so that if you only viewed footage of the game instead of playing it, you may even be led to believe that the different chapters are actually different games. And honestly, this is one of the most refreshing parts of the entire experience. Nothing about it is monotonous at all. And that goes for the characters too. For instance, Oboro Maru is a skilled ninja from Edo, Japan. He lives a secretive life and is sent on a special mission by his clan to infiltrate a fortress and rescue an important figure. Another character, Pogo, is a young caveman learning to be a hunter in the prehistoric past, and has a very strong sense for justice. One of my favorites, Shifu, is a kung fu master in Imperial China. He's searching for the perfect pupil to teach his earthen heart technique to before he passes away. Akira is an orphan from the near future who aspires to rid the world of the Crusaders, a biker gang who kidnaps children on behalf of the government. Cube is a robot from the distant future who goes beyond the bounds of his programming to care for his fellow crew members and save them from a catastrophe in space. Even the Wild West is represented here in the form of the Sundown Kid. He's a vagrant who roams the American frontier and desperately seeks vengeance upon a group of outlaws who massacred his hometown. And finally, Masaru is a young, hot-blooded man obsessed with becoming the world's greatest fighter, who travels the world in an attempt to do so. The big twist that awaits the player for completing all 7 original scenarios is an 8th scenario that features Oersted, a knight from the Middle Ages who sets out to rescue his love interest and the princess of his kingdom. After that chapter, there's yet another surprise too, but I won't spoil anything other than to say it brings together all 8 protagonists in a creative way. Live Alive's combat system is definitely cut from its own cloth, and blends together several aspects of the great RPGs of the past. All battles take place on a 7x7 grid, and both your characters and the enemies are able to move on the grid at the same time. Each character has the power to use combat abilities, pass their turn to an ally, wait to allow time gauges to fill, or flee from battle. What's that you noticed? That's right, there's no normal attacks, so it's kind of like an alien life form of RPGs. The game is actually designed in a way where each ability has different purposes and functions differently. And honestly, after playing it for a while, I kind of dig this. It definitely takes away a lot of the monotony you can feel in other RPGs. Most abilities have special requirements in terms of which squares they can target. For instance, close-ranged abilities often hit all enemies in squares adjacent to its user, but many long-range attacks can only hit enemies in a straight line or from an exact diagonal. You really have to be careful about your positioning, because if you make mistakes and move to the wrong squares, enemies can take advantage of it and attack you first. Oddly enough, Live Alive doesn't have any form of magic points, so each ability has its own benefits and drawbacks, including striking range and charge times. You'll probably use a lot of the same repeatedly, and some situationally based on the number of enemies, distance from the enemies, etc. And remember what I said about gauges? Well, above each unit's head is a hit points meter, and below it, a time meter. The time meter fills up a little bit with each action taken, including making an attack, getting hit by an attack, and even movement. When the time meter is red, it means that an ability is charging before it can be unleashed. When enemies are in this charging status, some abilities will even interrupt them and prevent the attack from going through. So make sure to take notice of this strategy and use it often. Nothing can wipe you out quicker than a charged enemy attack. But really, it's the little things about the battles that make them fun. For example, the visual effects for each ability are unique, and a lot of them are really cool. Also, the camera pans in on the characters executing them, which gives the impression that every attack is special. Some abilities even have a knockback effect to them, which is helpful to keep your distance and protect yourself from attacks. Also, there's a few other special mechanics, such as positional attack advantage. For instance, attacks from the side or behind enemies have a much higher hit rate and do additional damage. All these factors work together to make combat fun. The area visuals are just breathtaking and do HD 2D about as good as it's ever been done, Octopath Traveler included. One of the most visually pleasing areas to me is in the Edo, Japan scenario, where the fortress and its surroundings are absolutely on another level when it comes to color and beauty. I also adored the areas in Imperial China, with its lush vegetation and mountainous regions that really stand out. All of these regions provide a visual treat that's even more impressive given that the title is a remake. Also, the mainline story script is fully voice acted, and I think the quality is as high as it is in Octopath Traveler and Triangle Strategy. It's diverse, well done, and not too corny. My favorite voice actors were those for all the characters in Oersted's chapter. The middle-aged English flair to the dialogue was really fun and kept me hyper-focused on the story. In fact, Oersted's chapter is the best in general if you ask me. Of course, the dialogue and voice acting in the other chapters conform to that chapter's style. Also, it would be a crime not to cover the music of this game. To begin with, I thought Yoko Shimomura's soundtrack for the original SNES version was great. And by great, I mean I think I would rank it in the top 10 soundtracks for the entire system. That said, I was really thrilled to see what the remastered score would sound like. Thankfully, Square Enix brought the original composer back to revive it for a new generation to experience. Nothing represents the score better than its main theme, which is perfect for framing the game and is definitely one of the most memorable tunes. Of the chapter-specific tracks, I really loved Fine Weather, which plays throughout Pogo's scenario. Two Western-style themes in Sundown's chapter, Wanderer and Under the Fake, are both fantastic as well. On Broken Wings, a medieval-style theme that plays in Oersted's world, is simply majestic too. So much talent and energy was put into this soundtrack, and the songs truly stick in your head the same way Uematsu and Mitsuda's work does. It really is remarkable how a single group of composers was able to create such a diverse array of songs to fit each of the game's chapters. I also want to give some credit to Live Alive's character development. Now on the surface, it seems at first as if these characters have little depth outside of their obvious goals, but many of them do grow into something more. For instance, Sundown sets aside his desire for vengeance and grudge with Mad Dog to save the town of Success from a group of outlaws. There were several other instances of true character evolution I wasn't expecting as well, and it was really great to see play out. I was also extremely surprised to see the sheer amount of humor used in this game. There's a lot more lewd dialogue than I expected. I mean, come on, one character has a poop throw special ability. Seriously. I won't reveal any specific details of Live Alive's ending, but I wanted to make it a point to mention that the ending itself is a completely creative concept with very few comparisons to any other game. I think the player will be absolutely shocked to see how this one ends, for better or worse. I remember when I saw the ending of the original version for the first time, so I can only imagine a lot of new players being blown away by it now. So yes, Live Alive is an amazing RPG, and the HD 2D remake really makes it worth playing. Its interesting characters, unique combat system, legendary story, and amazing music really pack everything a retro RPG enthusiast would ever want into a single title. In fact, I'd go as far as to say it's Square Enix's best RPG remake yet. The graphical style is just beautiful and reminds me a lot of the best aspects of Octopath Traveler's visuals. And the character sprites, they're perfect too. Certainly better than any remake using graphical filters instead of using actual pixels. Most of the individual stories touch you in a unique way, and the narrative comes together perfectly in the end. Even if you're a hardcore RPG fan that played the original game, I still think it's worth revisiting this one because it's just so good. But you don't even have to take my word for it. Pick it up from the link in the description and see for yourself. So what did you think about Live Alive? Was this a worthy remaster and a great RPG? Let me know in the comments below. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell for more retro gaming content. If you want early access to the videos I produce and other perks, please consider supporting the channel by becoming a Patreon patron or via the YouTube Join feature.